Hello, everyone. Hello. So in this video, we'll be talking about Amazon Europe. If you are a US-based company and you want to expand to European marketplaces, watch this webinar because here we have two guests which can answer your questions. If you are listening live, if you're watching the recording, just check the timestamps and listen to what we talk. But today we'll have two experts. It's Alex Wyatt from SimplyVAT, right?
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
So Alex represents the company which helps with taxes for Amazon sellers in Europe. And Anton. Hi, Anton.
Thanks for having me as well. Hi.
So yeah, Anton is from SpaceGoats and they can help you to sell your products without hiring Alex service because Anton's company can resell your products on their own account. But we'll talk about this later. And also today we'll have Sophia, which is our new Orange Klik video host. We don't hear you.
Thanks for having me as well.
All right. So yeah, Sophia has actually runs Amazon business in Europe, so she might have also additional questions. And everyone who is listening live, make sure that you type your questions related to Amazon Europe in the chat, and we will take them, and our guests will be able to answer them. And before we move forward, don't forget to, of course, subscribe to our channel because it helps us to create more content. We know that you like it. And let's do a short introduction. So, Alex, could you introduce yourself and tell us how SimplyVAT helps?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Alex Wyatt. I am the Global Projects Manager at SimplyVAT.com. And SimplyVAT essentially helps e-commerce businesses with their international taxes when selling cross-border. So if you are holding inventory in an FBA center or a 3PL, that's going to trigger a VAT registration. And that's where we can come in and help with VAT registrations and ongoing compliance from there.
Perfect. And Anton, please introduce what you do.
Of course. Hi, my name is Anton Hermann. I'm the founder of SpaceGoats, and we are selling your products all over Europe without the hassle of any VAT registration. I'm sorry, Alex. We basically buy your products and sell your products through our Amazon account, European-wide plus UK, and therefore we know how to do that in Europe. And also welcome from my side.
All right, the format today is simple. We are answering questions. And while we're waiting for the first questions to pop up in our chat box, Sophia, could you also introduce yourself? I know you're running Amazon Europe business, and could you give us like a few sentences what you do as well?
Yes, sure. So I'm Sophia. I'm originally from Portugal. A couple of years ago, I decided to start my own Amazon FBA business, and I sell in Europe. So I definitely know firsthand all of the struggles that go into selling in Europe and in different marketplaces. So I'm very excited about hearing about today's topics. And I also have a YouTube channel about e-commerce. So yeah, very, very into the topic.
And YouTube channel of Sophia is called Digital Sophia. We have people, we have people watching from Florida, from Buenos Aires. Hola, from Israel. Shalom. Oh, no, yeah. From probably Romania. And okay, the first question. First, before we go into the questions, can we get a short overview what's happening with taxes, Alex?
Sure. I'll give you hopefully a quick overview to make it nice and painless. So if we start with Brexit, obviously this happened 12 months ago. So Brexit is a whole fun new thing for anybody selling within the UK. First of all, if you're importing directly into the UK, they have no longer allowed you to use the low value consignment relief threshold. So that means everything is taxable when coming into the UK. So if you're selling from the US or you're selling from Europe directly to customers in the UK, you'll have to charge VAT. Now, if you're selling on a marketplace like Amazon, Amazon's going to collect the VAT on your behalf for everything up to £135. So you have to really be looking at your consignment values here. You really need to be looking at how large your consignments are, how many parcels you're selling all at once going into the UK. And if it's above £135, then you, the seller, have to decide what you're going to do. Are you going to remain the importer of record, or are you going to make the customer the importer of record? And the importer of record is essentially the person that pays the import VAT as the goods clear through customs. So the main change here is this £135 threshold for anybody importing goods directly to customers in the UK. If you're fulfilling from the UK, you still need a local VAT registration. Amazon is collecting the VAT for you at the point of sale, but you need to declare all of your transactions as a B2B sale to Amazon on your local UK VAT return. So you still need that local VAT registration, and you're declaring the sales zero rated to Amazon. Then we've seen a few changes recently. You may have seen a few notifications coming from Amazon regarding their pan-EU fulfillment. They've recently added Sweden and the Netherlands. So they may be asking you now to start moving your goods into Sweden, start moving your goods into the Netherlands on top of the pan-EU program, which also holds your goods in Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Czech Republic, and Poland. So if you opt in to sell in Sweden and Netherlands as well, you will have to get a local VAT registration in both of those countries. Now, the big difference here that happened in July of last year, there was a whole EU VAT reform, and it essentially put the marketplaces in their place and said that they needed to start collecting VAT in specific transactions. So if you're a non-EU business selling goods on Amazon EU, you'll need a local VAT registration in each country where you're holding your inventory, but Amazon again is collecting and remitting that VAT to the local tax authorities. You are going to be responsible for declaring all of these transactions as exemptive VAT on those local returns. You can also reclaim all of your import VAT on those local returns, and you have to declare any B2B transactions on those local returns. So that's something that's a kind of a bonus to a lot of non-EU sellers. If you're an EU seller, you're going to continue operating as normal. You still have to collect and remit the VAT directly to the tax authorities. Amazon is not taking this responsibility on your behalf. So you need to remember to do this. And lastly, with the EU VAT reform that happened in July, there's the new Union OS scheme. So this is going to really impact sellers that are, like I said, if you're selling in the EU, you're an EU business selling on Amazon, you're going to need the Union OS registration. It works as an alternative to having to VAT register in every single EU country. So this is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money. And you're going to file quarterly VAT returns, and it's going to be used to declare all cross-border sales made to EU customers. So if you're holding your goods in Germany and you're selling to customers in, let's say, Italy and the Netherlands, you want to be declaring all of these cross-border sales on the local Union OS return. So it's a huge simplification as opposed to having to register in multiple EU countries. If you're a non-EU seller, you're going to use the Union OS scheme. If you're selling on your own website, like a Shopify site, WooCommerce, whatever, you'll use the Union OS to sell cross-border from there.
All right, so it's a very boring topic, these taxes. And actually, we have the first question about taxes, and then I will ask Anton what's happening in Europe. But Ugur is asking, how long does it take to get VAT registration in Germany?
So the VAT registration process, once you send it off to the tax authorities in Germany, it typically takes about 10 to 12 weeks to process, and that is strictly down to the tax authorities. So yeah, get those VAT registrations off as quickly as possible.
All right. So Anton, your company is selling in all marketplaces in Europe. Can you give us a short overview what's happening with European marketplaces or sellers, or I don't know, Amazon?
Of course. So we are only doing Amazon. So here we are the experts about eBay and stuff. I don't have too many information, but Amazon we know. And just a brief introduction. Amazon Europe is the biggest marketplace for Amazon Europe is definitely Germany. So Germany takes, I think, 28% 8% or something like that from all the European market, and the competition is pretty high compared to the other smaller European marketplaces. I'm not talking about UK, because UK is not, as Alex said, in the European Union anymore, so that's totally different. And after Germany, we will have France. After France, we have Italy, and after Italy, we will have Spain, and then the 3 new marketplaces will come. They came like last year and the year before, slowly, like Netherlands, Poland, and Sweden. But as we have the data in our account, the volume is not very high at the moment, but Amazon is investing a lot of money to develop that marketplaces, and it's better to be there earlier than later. As when you're an American seller, if you could sell your products 3 years earlier, it would be pretty nice. And if you want to sell in Europe, the biggest challenge, and that's what Alex explained pretty nice, is obviously the VAT stuff, and that needs to be compliant, and it's totally different to, for example, the American marketplace. In America, you can just say, okay, I start selling in this and this states, and when I reach some threshold, I will just get my VAT numbers later on, and then it's cool. In Europe, you need to have it up front, what makes it a bit slower, but that's like the European lifestyle. I think we talked enough about VAT and all the specific VAT questions. We have another expert over here. But what we experience a lot as an obstacle in Europe, it's a product compliance issue. Product compliance, you have on many different levels. You have certifications like REACH, like the CE logo. You have like the organic certification, and you have the packaging registration, the ERP. You probably heard about if you're already selling in Europe, and this is not a joke. Especially in Germany, I know from Germany the most, of course. There are sellers, they will just catch you because you're not compliant in some way, and then they will report it to Amazon, and then Amazon will block your listing, and then your listing will be down for a couple of weeks, and so on and so forth. So product compliance is super serious, and it needs to be done by experts, in my humble opinion. The other challenge on Europe of selling in Europe is obviously the different cultures and different languages. But there are like service providers like Wyatt translation, for example. I think you had also a video with her. They can do the job for you, but still, market research for the different cultures, because I would say, I'm not American, but I would say a Western American person and an Eastern American person is more similar than a German and a French person, even though the distance is like, I can throw a rock to France, but still the people are so different. And I guess here are beside the VAT stuff, the 2 main obstacles, the 2 main challenges: to understand the target, the market, and to be product compliant in all the different marketplaces. Just a brief introduction.
All right. So I know that Sophia wanted to ask you something, and then I see a lot of questions pouring in the chat. So what did I say? Let's say Sophia. Yeah, Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia. You said Sophia. Yeah. So you mentioned some of the challenges, and I can imagine that there are several things that are different. And with that in mind, would you say that you would advise American sellers to expand to all of the countries at the same time, or to rather focus on, let's say, Germany, because you said it is the biggest one? And also a question, like a follow-up question that comes after that in my mind, is that would you say that the smaller, let's say the newer markets that Amazon is introducing, are they worth it? Like, all of the effort you need to go through with the listings and finding the keywords, putting them in PPC, customer support in different languages, all of that, is it worth it? What would you say?
There are different strategies, and they all depend on your budget, I would say. But if I would have if I would be a normal FBA seller with like mid-size company, I would definitely go the approach to launch on one marketplaces, and that would be definitely the German one, because it's by far the biggest. And from that marketplace, I would learn how things are working in Europe. like if you are compliant in Germany, you're basically for many compliance categories also compliant for the other countries. So the big work is already done. But still, because of focus and because of every marketplace needs time and needs effort to be managed, products need time to be launched, I would start in Germany, and then I would expand to maybe one other country or directly to the big European marketplaces like France, Italy, and Spain. And now from that on, and then I would make my business big there and launch my products there in a proper way. And then the next question, what you raised, are the small marketplaces worth it? At the beginning, they are not worth it at all. But when you have the volume, and when you have the volume already moved in for big marketplaces, the more effort to launch the other marketplaces is not pretty big. You need the VAT numbers, then you have to ask Alex. But from that point, it's definitely worth a shot, I would say. You can also start without the VAT numbers with a European Fulfillment Network, and with the OS, what Alex explained, that you can ship your products from, for example, Germany to Sweden to just test the water there, and then you can still decide if it's worth it for you or if it's not. But the markets itself, not Amazon marketplace, the markets itself, like Poland has like 40 million. 50 million people, something like that. Pretty big market. Sweden is rich, a super rich country, as well as Netherlands. So the potential is there, but we cannot say today that this is a huge opportunity for the moment.
All right, I see there are some questions. Of course, a lot of questions. I just VT. Alex, am I right saying that it would be better to register VAT in Netherlands or Belgium? I heard you may be able to defer import taxes.
Great question. So yes, there is something called Article 23 license that you can apply for when you're getting VAT registered in Netherlands and Belgium, and it essentially allows you to postpone your VAT. So instead of paying import VAT as you import your goods into Netherlands or Belgium, you would actually account for it in your VAT return instead, and as an input and an output. So it essentially cancels itself out in the VAT return, meaning that it doesn't impact your cash flow at all. So it's something definitely for businesses, if you want to use it, it could be a really good option for you. Both in Netherlands and Belgium, to use the Article 23 license, you would need to have a bank guarantee in place with the tax authorities. And that would be dependent on your sales turnover, how much you're trying to actually import into those countries. So you want to make sure that you're able to get a bank guarantee in place. There are other countries that have postponed accounting, which is pretty much the exact same thing, like France, for example, who has just introduced postponed accounting, where you don't need to have the Article 23 license. So think about those other countries, check with your fulfillment, your freight forwarders, and see if they are able to help you with postponed accounting in the other EU member states.
Thank you. And we have another question. So we have here compression stocking. I'm guessing that is the specific product we are talking about. But in general, what are documents required to sell on Amazon Europe markets from India? Maybe Anton, can you give some insight here?
It totally depends on the product. So there are products they almost need none certifications, and there are products they need a lot, like supplements and stuff. So it's very hard to tell. But what you definitely would
for
need
compression stockings.
What is compression stockings?
I think it's like for your running or just after running, like
okay.
socks, like long socks on.
Sorry, I don't know the product. Can you hit me up afterwards, because I don't know the product like right now, and I will tell you what is going on over there. But I need to check.
All right, it's a good point. How can they reach out to you? So, Anton, can you explain, how you could help this person and how can they reach out to you?
So Anton at spacegoats.io is my email address. You can just drop me some lines, and I will check back to our compliance experts with our compliance experts how we can help you there, and what we do in general for our customers. If this was the question, Augustus, I'm not sure.
I think
yes.
so.
Okay. We are selling your products all over Europe and handling all this compliance stuff for you in kind of if you're based in India, in kind of a full service solution. So if you tell us which kind of product you want to sell, we will get the certifications, we will get the documents we need. We will print a responsible address. It's also a big issue in Europe on your product, and we will sell it for you and have a marketing agency in the back which will launch your products and make you successful. That's what we are doing.
All right. So I see there is another question for our tax representative. Alexandrs is asking. The company has one-stop shop registration in Latvia and VT codes in Spain and France. The order comes from Spain and shipped to Spain from France. I'm already confused. How to declare one-stop shop to Spanish or to Spanish?
I got you. I understand the question, and it's a really good question. So you would declare this transaction on the Union One-Stop Shop, and that is because the OS scheme, the Union OS scheme, is there to declare any cross-border sales of goods. So if you are selling anything from one EU member state to another EU member state to a private individual, that would go on the Union OS scheme. If you were doing a domestic sale, so say it went from France to a French customer, that would go on the local French return. Same thing, Spain to Spain, it would go on the local Spanish return. But anything going cross-border between EU member states to private individuals goes on that Union OS return.
Oh, all right, one more for you, Alex, then. If Amazon collects the VAT for me, why am I still responsible to file the transactions quarterly?
Good question. So you still have to declare them, unfortunately. So what happens is you are actually making essentially in a really short amount of time. What happens is you make a B2B transaction between yourself and Amazon. So you sell the goods to Amazon, and then Amazon sells them on your behalf in a really short amount of time. That's essentially what is happening and how you're declaring the transactions. So you are holding your inventory in Germany, for example, and then you make a sale on Amazon.de. And so what has to happen is Amazon is making that sale, but you have to first sell the goods to Amazon. So it's a B2B transaction between yourself and Amazon. So you record that as exemptive VAT on your local VAT return, and then Amazon is then collecting the VAT and remitting that to the tax authorities as a B2C transaction. So instead as before, it was between you and the customer. Now there's two types of transactions here. There's you and Amazon, and then Amazon and the customer. That happens all at once in a split second. I hope that simplifies it.
Okay, now Antoine. If I sell in Germany from the stock of Amazon UK through Amazon Global Fulfillment, do I have to open a VAT number in Germany?
It's also a VAT question, but I can also answer it. So you don't need to do that, but you don't get the pan-European. First, I explain what the pan-European networks actually means. Pan-European network means that you allow Amazon to store your goods in all the different countries. So the customer gets the better experience, because if you allow Amazon to store your goods in, for example, Spain, and the Spanish customer orders them, then the shipping time is pretty low. And for that reason, Amazon gives you an incentive to do so in reduced shipping costs. It means that you will pay maybe half or 60% of the cost what you would pay if you do the European fulfillment network. What means that you send the products from another country, what Alex explained, to, for example, Spain. Now, if you understood that, if you are sending products from UK to Germany, then you would always have the European fulfillment network system. Means you would have longer shipping times, and you would have the cross-border transaction shipping fee. So if you want to do it like properly, like if you take things serious, I would strongly recommend to store the goods in UK as well as in Europe. But for testing the water, it's definitely worth it to do it like that. I hope this explained it.
Yeah. So yeah, those people who are receiving answers, just if you want clarification, just feel free to type it in. Javier Zabeda is asking, it's probably a question for Anton. Any advice on how to appeal customers in Amazon Europe opposed to the US?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, because we did it the other way around. Like we thought about the other way around, like bringing European customers to USA. And what I can say to American guy, less is more in Europe from the marketing perspective. I probably the super fancy listing with many banners and many strong colors. That's not the European style of marketing. At least that's our experience. So that's like the first thing. The second thing is that you like if we are talking about product selection, you can use the same tools as you're using in USA also in Europe, like Helium 10, for example, Jungle Scout, and so on and so forth. And from that point, you will see what product works and what product does not work, if I understood the question correct. But still, I would always take a professional translator who knows the market, who knows the language like native speaker, and who knows Amazon. So that are the three main points your translator should know. So you shouldn't take a normal translator who can just translate word by word. He does need to have Amazon knowledge to do your Amazon search engine optimized listings. I hope this helps.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I have a question now for Alex. So I read something about the European fulfillment network opening again the borders between UK and EU when it comes to movement of goods. So when we have our goods in EU only, and I think this is very relevant for sellers coming into Europe, because it really affects or impacts your decision to where to keep your goods. So I want to ask you, what is happening and what should we keep in mind and know about this?
Yeah, so it was pre-Brexit. You could have held your stock in the UK, for example, and sold cross-border into the EU, and it was so easy. And I know a lot of American sellers loved that because the UK is a great place to start. Everyone speaks English, and it's a nice, easy kind of landing over into Europe. And then when Brexit actually happened, we were kind of tossed into this disarray. We didn't know what was happening with the borders and how anyone was actually going to get goods in and out of the UK and into the EU. So now Amazon's bringing back the EFN between the UK and the EU, which is great. So if you wanted to use or hold your goods in the UK, for example, and again, those American sellers that are thinking about coming in, doing a soft landing into Europe, and although UK is not technically part of the EU, we still consider it part of Europe and the expansion overseas. So what you could do is move your goods into the UK and then sell your goods cross-border by listing your products on the different EU marketplaces for Amazon up until certain thresholds. So going up until 150 euros in consignment value for goods crossing over into the EU. And if you're coming over into the UK, it's that £135 threshold that I mentioned before. What's going to happen when importing or exporting your goods between the UK and the EU under this EFN network is Amazon is going to be responsible to collect the VAT, irrespective of if you are an EU seller and non-EU seller. They're going to collect the VAT for any of those imported goods less than those consignment thresholds. So if it's less than 150 euros, less than 135 pounds, Amazon's going to collect that VAT on your behalf and pay that to the tax authorities. So hopefully it will be nice and easy for you guys to get your goods into each member state.
Actually, there is a screaming question. Now Amazon allows again to fulfill European orders from inventory in the UK. How is VAT filing if I have inventory also in Deutschland, in Germany? Is there any tax advantage in shipping from one place or the other?
I don't think, well, in terms of the tax advantage, if you have, it depends on your consignment value. If your consignment value is higher, it's going higher than those thresholds I mentioned. If you're shipping goods within the EU, you may as well continue to fulfill it from Germany, because it's going to mean that your goods will be able to free flowly across the EU border. So that's going to be nice and easy for you. But otherwise, the only tax advantage is you could move your goods maybe into the UK, keep them in the UK, and then deregister in Germany, and then you'd only have one country you'd have to VAT register for. But I would say that's the main tax advantage, that if you were really trying to minimize your filings, that would be the main way to go. But just check that it's not going to harm your sales going cross-border, to other EU customers.
Just to add something to that question, but it will be cheaper. You will have shipping cost advantages if you ship from Germany to Germany than if you if you're shipping from UK to Germany. As I said, European fulfillment network is more expensive than pan-European network.
All right, thank you. And Anton, since we are on it, I have another question for you from Kan Ardik. I hope I said that right. So greetings. I think it is advantageous to send products from Turkey to the UK. Turkey has an advantageous location, both in terms of quality and logistics. So this is a little bit about the sourcing, right? What do you think? We didn't speak about Turkey yet, so I'm also curious to hear about it.
I like the idea a lot to source near Europe because of the container prices. They skyrocket right now. Just to give you an example, if like before Corona, you paid between 3 and 5K for some 40-feet container, and now it's like 15 to 20K. So you could save a lot of money if you source your products in Turkey. And I heard also that the quality, so some of our customers do so, that the quality in Turkey is also pretty nice and the people are reliable over there. So that's definitely a good idea if you can find the right product for the right price.
Right. Thank you. And since we're on it, also about France, maybe for Alex. France has introduced new policies and a lot of products are stuck at customs. Is this related to its VAT or taxes somehow?
I don't know. I mean, if you can specify, if you can specify what sort of policies that you are finding that you're getting your goods stuck. I don't know, Anton, if you know of any.
I just know one thing about France, what was launched recently, that you need to upload your packaging registration number. That's the ERP thing to the Amazon Marketplace, but I don't think it has something to do with the customs. I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Yeah, Khan Ardis, if you want to
please
expand, yeah. If you want to please.
I guess it's Can, not Khan.
Yeah, Khan. Yeah. All right, so next question is from Daniel. Sorry, another question. Well, you don't need to be sorry. It's like probably Europe is like only about VAT. EU member states have different rates for VAT. Is the VAT charged at the country of sale or the country of delivery?
It should be charged at the country of delivery. It should be charged at the rate where your end customers are located. So you need to make sure that you have accounted for this in your product prices, because like you did mention, the VAT rates do vary depending on where you're selling to. So that could be anywhere between 17% up to 27%. And you'd want to make sure that any product prices that you've set, maybe if someone's buying off of Amazon.de, for example, you may have assumed that it's 19% VAT in Germany, but if it's an Austrian buyer buying from you and the goods are going to Austria, then you would be having to charge 21% rate taxes on that. So you need to make sure that you're accounting for the different fluctuations of VAT rates in your product prices, depending on wherever your customers might purchase from you.
Also, one thing to add over here, but you can't play games between Poland and Germany because the VAT rate in Poland is higher than in Germany, and you have thresholds and for the cross-border delivery, but you can voluntarily deny the thresholds to get the better VAT rate. So that's what you can definitely check back. You can save 3% or something like that over here.
If Alex wants to correct you. Or?
No, I was going to say this is a great tip. I want to hear more about it.
Is there anything else about that, or that's it?
That was it.
That's it. Okay, so there is nothing more, Alex.
No,
is it just in your FBA settings where you set that, where you can set the limits?
I think you can. You have to do it with the tax office in the country. It's nothing to do with FBA.
Oh, do you mean? Oh, I think they've stopped that now. After the EU VAT reform, with the distance selling rules, they pre-July 2021, you were able to do that. You can't do that anymore. I thought there was something in the FBA settings where you could like say, oh, anything going to Germany, it comes from Germany. But yeah, I'm not sure. Anyways, ignore me.
Sorry for the fake news. Then.
Hopefully, Anton's company will not get like fines from the tax office.
No.
Because of that. Okay. Sophia, you have some questions?
Yes, I do. So I think a very important decision and consideration that sellers have in general, I had them, but I think also new sellers or sellers coming from the US to Europe, is the decision of where to store the inventory. Because you can store your inventory in different marketplaces, sure, or in their own countries, but then you trigger different tax registrations, right? However, you can also store them in only one country and have this distance fulfillment. But is it okay on the conversion rate level? Would you say this is okay when you first start out? What is your advice for sellers launching? Can they keep their inventory only in Germany, let's say, because it's the biggest market, and then sell everywhere else? Or is it better to spread it around? Maybe Anton.
Okay. So if I understand the question correct, I need to explain one thing also about what is special about the German marketplace. German has its own marketplace, and Poland has its own marketplace now as well. But in the past, it hadn't. And but they have fulfillment centers in Czech Republic and in Poland. And if you allow Amazon to store your goods over there, because the labor cost there is lower, Amazon gives you a discount on the shipping cost. They used to be 50 cents, then they reduced it to 35 cents, and I guess now they are like 25 cents. So it's a numbers game. You need to calculate how much products you are going to sell and if it's worth it. But if you do so, you need to be VAT registered. Sorry, I forgot to say that. Very important notice. You need to be VAT registered in Poland and Czech Republic to get this discount. And I think the last number I had in my mind was like 600 sales or something like that per month, and then it would be worth it to be VAT registered in Poland and Czech Republic and allow Amazon to store your goods over there. And now the second part of your question, if it's worth to do the OS, as I understood, like one-stop shop and send from Germany to example France. It's only good for the beginning, but it's not a long-term thing in my opinion, because the shipping costs are so much higher, and this is all margin what is just gone for you. So it's good to test, but you wouldn't have the perfect test, because the shipping time is higher and you need to have a higher price or a lower margin. So testing is okay, but if you want to do it right, I would definitely do the pan-European network and get the VATs all over Europe.
All right. I see Khan clarified his friend's question. So, okay, now I don't see the full question. Extended producer responsibility program requirements for applicable EU-bound products. And before he was talking about France introduced new policies, a lot of products stuck at customs. I still don't see a question. So Khan, or you understood, Anton?
I guess I understood. Yeah, that's the packaging registration stuff. So you need to get your packaging registration number in France, and you need to upload that packaging registration number to Amazon. If you don't do so, Amazon will block your products in France. That's easy going, and we have the same in Germany already, a couple of weeks earlier.
Okay, I see there is a supplement question. Sophia, can you?
Sure. So I sell supplements in the UK and used to sell in Germany without German language label. Will I be able to restart selling my English label supplements with UK Amazon warehouse, ship to the customers again?
German.
So, yeah.
That's a question for me, I guess. As far as I know, and I'm pretty sure about it, because it's the other way around, the same. So I know about UK, but you need to have the label also in the German language and in the target country where you sell your products to. And you actually, and that's what Amazon does not tell you, you need a responsible person's address printed on your packaging from a company which is sitting in the European Union. So you definitely cannot sell your stock from UK, your NEM stock, without any change of the label. That's definitely not possible. Only because the second reason is not possible at all, and I'm pretty sure that's the first reason the same.
Right. I see Khan Ardik has another question. It's a personal question. They sell in Europe, and the price of their product, the price of our product, the quality should be more at the forefront. I know this question is very broad, but what do people pay more attention in Europe? So maybe the question is like, what to pay attention when you make your Amazon strategy?
Yeah, that's very broad, but it totally depends. I guess it's also a question for me. Sorry, Alex.
It's okay.
Either that's our experience. Either you're the cheapest, either you're the price winner, or you're the quality winner. That's I think in general a capitalistic rule, I would say. So there are premium brands, also not real brands, like Amazon only brands in the premium area with nice reviews and everything, and they're working very good. But there are also brands with a very good cost efficiency, and they are also working very good. So that totally depends on the strategy you are you want to follow. But now my personal experience, some personal opinion, be better in the higher price range than in the lower price range, because there are a lot of people out there which cannot calculate their margins properly, and you will lose the game against somebody who's insane in that sense. So but better on the upper side of the price range than on the lower end.
Sophia, you run Amazon business in Europe for how long?
For a little bit over 2 years now.
Okay, so you have experience. So what do you say, like what to pay attention in Europe?
Yeah,
if I don't know, your friend wants to sell, and
I think I would really look at the competition very closely, and I think I agree with Anton with everything he said. We need to always focus on offering more value than the competition for the same price or lower. I like to also price my goods on the premium side, because I think it's just better. And you can do that as long as you offer more value than the others are. So I think also choosing the market where you will go into very well is important. So if you can, then you have a portfolio in the US. If you can choose the ASINs that you will expand with carefully to make sure that you have the best chances of entry with success, I think that will also help you succeed.
All right. There is a very interesting comment. VUM NGO. Anybody can read the name? I can. It's Taisia Babicheva. It's Cyrillic. All right, but we don't understand. If you want to clarify your question, you're welcome. Javier is asking if we are going to Prosper show. So he's ready to make you drunk. Are you, Alex, going?
I'm going.
Anton?
I will be there.
My co-founding colleague is going as well. And Xavi, I will just write down your name, and
Javier.
then you will meet
Javier.
Yeah, I'm ready for the drinks. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
So I will connect my friend Manuel with Alex, and then you guys will meet with Xavier. So that's
I'll link him in.
All right, good. Any more dates? Anyone else wants dates? I have some in the kitchen. I can bring you some dates. All right, another question from Daniel. I sell on Shopify and Amazon in UK, and I know we can get a lot of sales in Europe. We fulfill currently with themselves FBM from UK to Europe. but shipping costs are expensive. And what would be the most efficient cost natural way to grow into Europe? How is the Union OSS administrated? So basically everything is for him in UK, and he wants to see the best strategy how to expand to other countries in Europe, right? So can you explain, Alex, about in terms of one-stop shop?
Yeah, of course. So, well, I'm gonna kind of go off of what Anton said. You know, you could probably start fulfilling your goods maybe from one EU member state, maybe a 3PL, especially with your Shopify sales, in whichever EU member state you choose. And then wherever you're fulfilling your goods from in that EU member state, say you choose the Netherlands, for example, you're holding your goods in Netherlands, you'll get a local Dutch VAT registration, and then you'll get the Union OS registration as well. So the Union OS registration, I'm presuming that you are a UK business in this case scenario. If you're not, please message me after. So if you're a UK business, your Amazon sales are going to be collected via Amazon. And like I said, you are going to record all of your Amazon sales as exempt of VAT on, say, this Dutch local VAT return. Your Union OS is going to be registered in Netherlands as well. If you're holding your goods in Netherlands, you're going to register your Union OS in whichever EU member state your goods are held in. You only need one Union OS registration, and you're going to file that quarterly, and that's going to declare any of those cross-border transactions sold on your own website. So for your Shopify sales, if you're a UK business, all of those cross-border sales made to private individuals are going to go on the Union OS. Any domestic sales, so say you're selling on your Shopify site from the Netherlands and you sell to a Dutch customer, that would go on your local VAT return. So the Union OS is specifically for cross-border B2C sales. And if you're a UK business or a non-EU business, it's going to be for only your Shopify sales. So I hope that clarifies it.
All right. Actually, Daniel is continuing. He is like talking about from UK to Europe. He says it seems a lot of hard work if each transaction needs to be logged from VAT perspective. Such a complex situation. Not keen to giving 20-30% of revenue.
Yeah, I think actually the OS has simplified it. You don't need to be monitoring distant selling thresholds that we were like talking about a year ago on Augustus's channel. So I think it has simplified it in a way. Now you just have to have two of these registrations, one for the local registration wherever you're holding your inventory, and that Union OS to cover all of your cross-border B2C transactions. So I'm hoping you see that as a simplification. I know not many people like to talk about tax or even have to file your taxes, but that does simplify it. The alternative is having to VAT register in every single country where your customers are located. So obviously that's a more complex route. So yeah, the benefits would probably be using someone like us to help file those VAT returns, and then all you'd be given is an amount to pay to the tax authority on a quarterly basis.
Anton, do you have any input in terms of like UK to expand to Europe?
I guess most of the things were said,
Okay.
or you can also use SpaceGoats. It's a quick win, and
right.
like, register it afterwards when you're big enough to pay the VAT registrations in 8 countries. That's what.
Oh yeah, it's a good point. So SpaceGoats is not only for like US company which doesn't know anything about Europe, but can you give us like these case scenarios where SpaceGoats can help like UK company or maybe even company in Romania? Maybe if you're in European Union, there is no really benefit to use SpaceGoats. Can you explain this?
There is a benefit. There's also a benefit. Or you're big enough and you want to do everything yourself. But what the main target group, how we started, were German sellers, which wanted to expand to European Union countries without having the VAT hassle. That was like the first target what we conquered. So you can give us your products. We sell it for you everywhere but Germany, for example, or everywhere but France, for example, and we will pay the VAT in our name and so on and so forth. Same, obviously, also for UK countries. So if you don't want to register for any VAT numbers here in Europe, you can give us your products and we will sell them for you in our name. handle the import stuff, export stuff, whatever is needed. Just in short.
But still, like for example, if you are strong in one European country, let's say, I know in Spain, Spanish seller, he is like running Spanish business. Now he jumped on Amazon and he has like warehouses and products, everything is set up in Spain, but he doesn't want to think of like, because if he starts using PAN-EU, he has to register VAT, but before he because it takes time to register VAT, right? Like months sometimes. So they could come to you, and for this transition period, while they're expanding themselves, they could use your service for first 2 months just to see how your product works. Right?
Yeah, it's six months we have a contract duration, but yeah, he can come to us and work with us as till he's waiting for his VAT numbers. So that's definitely possible.
And currently, yeah, check the link below to SpaceGoats. You can use a discount code, which you see maybe on the screen, and also in the description. It might change in the future, but check everything in the description. We will update no matter when you look at this video. And since we're pitching our guests, Alex, SimplyVAT, how do you help?
Yeah, so we help sellers with their international VAT obligations, so VAT registering, VAT ongoing compliance, and any kind of thing in between when it comes to taxes within Europe and Canada as well. So if, I think the best thing to do is if you're maybe on edging away from the small seller and you're really looking to expand and go internationally, that's where our business can come in and help because take the headache away from your business. Anton and everyone here has made it really clear, tax is not everyone's favorite subject, and I completely get that. And so we love VAT, so you don't have to, and we make it nice and simple.
Here is the direct contact to Alex if you want, Alex at SimplyVAT, and mention Orange Klik because they will be happy to hear that you watch this video.
You'll get a special discount when you mention Orange Klik. So,
shh, don't tell to everyone. Okay, so
good. So we have more questions in the chat. So I understood from Amazon that the EPR requirement is for all Europe, not just France.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. We had this rule and this law many years before, but now Amazon is about to fine you or to charge you when you don't have it. Now they want you to upload this number to your seller central, but from legal perspective, it was always necessary to have it. But just for explanation, it's EPR means extended producer responsibility, and this covers packaging registration, battery trash, and electronic trash. So basically, you have to pay the trash you produce with your sold products. And there are countries like Netherlands where you only need it if you have a big quantity, but there are also countries like Poland where you need to have this number on your on every invoice what you write. So that a bit depends on the market you are selling, but at the moment you need to upload it for today in Germany and in France, but it will definitely come with the next weeks for the other marketplaces as well.
Right, and Mokutus has yet another question. What is a fiscal representative and what countries require that?
So a fiscal representative is someone that is jointly and severally liable for the VAT owed, typically by a non-EU based business when trying to VAT register in specific EU countries. So if you're a non-EU business, you would need this fiscal representative when trying to register. And specifically focusing on Amazon today, if we look at the pan-EU countries, you would need it in France, Poland, and Italy, and Spain. So those would be, and Sweden, if we include Sweden as well. So those would be the countries where you'd need a fiscal representative to help you register.
That means they need service like you, or they can go to find a local accountant, let's say in Sweden, and then local accountant in Spain. But let's say if they come to you, you would organize these local accountants to be fiscal or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of keep everything under one umbrella. So we don't act as fiscal representatives ourselves, but we work with those fiscal representatives to cover you as like an insurance, and then we would still do all the VAT returns and filings and communication with the tax authority and yourselves.
Daniel is really excited about Europe, so he's asking again, and it's about one-stop shop. Is only for goods under 150 euros.
No.
Most of our products are over this threshold. Thank you so much. So yeah, no.
So you need to remember, okay, I didn't touch on the import one-stop shop, which maybe, Daniel, you might be thinking about. The import one-stop shop when going into Europe would be that 150 euro threshold. And that's, again, you're selling on Shopify. So any of those sales going into Europe up until that threshold would be on the import one-stop shop registration. For the Union OS, that is only for intra-EU cross-border sales. So the goods have to already be located within the EU in order to use the Union OS. You can't use the Union OS for any imported goods. So I hope that makes it clear. Also, once the goods are in the EU, there is no threshold. So if you have those high value goods, that's amazing. And once your goods are in the EU, you can sell whatever, up to whatever amount, and that can all go on the Union OS return. It's only the import one-stop shop you're probably thinking of, which again, feel free to message me if you want more clarity on those different schemes.
Yeah, you can message here. alex@simplyvat.com.
And we have another question from Okutus, and I think it may go against what we already spoke, but let's just make sure because this topic is always complicated. What is the responsible person and the fiscal representative, and when are they required? Is this what we spoke about, or is it different?
We spoke about both, like the fiscal representative, that's what Alex explained a couple of minutes ago, and the responsible person's address is always required. There is on every product you're selling in the European Union an address required which is sitting in the European Union. And because when something goes bad with your product and somebody's dying because of bad quality or whatever, somebody needs to be charged for it. Somebody needs to be accountable for that. And this company needs to sit in the European Union. And it's always required, and it needs to be at least on the product packaging or on the product itself.
Thank you. And in the beginning, Anton, you started to speak about the main challenges of selling in EU. I would like you to elaborate on that because I think it's very important.
Okay.
What are the main challenges?
The main challenge is VAT compliance. Obviously, VAT compliance, we talked about it a lot. Product compliance, different cultures, different languages, and I guess that's it. So that are the main parts.
The topic we spoke the least about, though, is the different languages. And how would you advise sellers to that are probably used to working probably just in English and maybe Spanish? How would you advise sellers to handle 8 different languages? I think it's 8 at the moment.
Yes,
it's already 8, really.
Wow. It is. I think it's 8. Is it 8? I lost count.
Spanish. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
I would definitely take a professional translator and don't save here, because that's the wrong part to save money, in my opinion. Just imagine that you would you would explain your mother your product, and your mother would write a description for the bullet points and title for you for Amazon. That's the result what you would get, because your mother speaks the language, obviously, mother tongue, but she has no clue about Amazon, right? And if you take a non-professional translator, you will get the same results as if your mother would write your listing for your country, and that's for Amazon. And that's why I would definitely take a professional translator, not an AI or whatever, which does a keyword research upfront, and then launch the product, and not doing bad automated translations first just to see how it works and then go for the professional translations. That's in my opinion, we experienced it many times, a big mistake, because the first days where you launch a product, it gives some impulses to the algorithm, and when you have bad keywords which are not relevant for your product in your listing, you would put your product on the wrong track for the Amazon algorithm, and this will be a damage forever. So I would go for professional translations from the first day.
All right. Actually, Daniel is sending I wanted to say 2 stars. No, it's 2 hearts. Just don't know if it's one for Anton, one for Alex, or it's for Alex and Sophia, or it's for, I don't know. We need
It's for
4.
you. It's for you.
For me.
both for you.
All right, we don't have any more questions unless Sophia wants to improve her Amazon Europe business and ask Anton for some secrets.
I think I would write Anton for him to give me more
Exactly.
detailed secrets, even more. And now I have his contact.
Yeah, we will not reveal here. All right, so few last minutes. Alex, one more time very shortly, how do you help and how can people find you?
Yeah, so we help e-commerce businesses VAT register UK, all of pan-EU countries, all of Europe and Canada, along with all of the VAT compliance. So you can just shoot me an email, alex@simplyvat.com, say you heard of us through Orange Klik, and yeah, I'm happy to chat through tax, everyone's favorite topic.
Yeah, Anton?
Yes, so if you're a European seller or a non-European seller, you're welcome at SpaceGoats. We sell your products all over Europe through our account, handling all this VAT stuff, sorry again, Alex, so that you don't need it. And the same we do for UK. We also help with supply chain automation. We help with pre-FBA, we help with product compliance, and we help basically with everything you need in your Amazon business. We have a partner network, and where you get discounts for translations, for example, and other compliance, other legal services. Feel free to write me, anton@spacegoats.io, or visit our website. We are happy to help.
And I want to remind that there are some links to SpaceGoats and SimplyVAT below in the description. So you can just click them and contact these companies and get your help. And I see Locutus is really, he really has few more questions. As a summary, to sell in Europe, you need to register VAT in more than one country, apply for EPR number, ROI number also probably shouldn't forget, right? ROI. Yep. And then get responsible person and fiscal representative, plus translate into different languages. Too much. Even with that, I'm already doing it and planning to expand. Oh, okay, so it's positive. I thought it's
That's
negative.
good news. Look at you go.
And Locutus, yeah, if you feel overwhelmed, you just see it's taking too long, go to Anton, and he can help you in first 6 months. While you're sorting out all these other things. Of course, you will still have to market and translate yourself, but you don't need to worry about VAT and some other registrations, right? Anton has no words.
Yeah, I have a word. We do it like that. You go to Alex, get one VAT number so that you can serve one marketplace in Europe for yourself, and you come to us for all the other marketplaces in Europe just to see if it works for you and pay the local cost. Plus, we do the EPR for you on the responsible address, where we also can help and print our own address on it. And so we have like a round business. And if you're big enough, you can go with all your other VAT numbers to Alex, and we are all happy. And Augustus is happy, and everybody is happy.
We're all happy.
All right, thank you very much. Javier will see Alex and Anton's partner in Prosper Show. And actually, talking about events, if anyone is in Germany in March 12th, 2022, if you're watching the recording, maybe you're too late, but there will be a seller bar camp. It's an interesting format in Germany. It's the 7th event. It's not a conference, but it's a conference, but a big event. And Anton, you can meet Anton and Sophia actually there. So, all right.
And one thing, next week is the White Label Expo in London as well. So we will be there.
Oh, it's March 2nd, March. Oh, yeah. So everybody is happy. And thank you very much. Bye-bye, guys, and good luck in your business. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video with which we did with Anton, where he goes in more depth how to sell on Amazon in Europe. He gives some tips. It's a full-length webinar just with him, so have fun.